We're live. Hi, everybody. Let's put it up on Discord. We are live. We posted it to Discord. We're hanging out. Music playing. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this second installment of MetaTailor University. We are looking at importing clothing. Today, I've got 3 outfits we're going to take a look at. We're going to try to get through all 3. I think we're going to get through all 3. I tried to do some pre-work beforehand to make it a little bit easier on us. But we'll just give it a minute or two. Let people jump in, let people join us. Hop in the stream. Then we'll go through announcements. We'll talk about all the fun stuff we got planned for today, for next week, what we covered last week. Let's see. Keep clicking on the wrong stream there. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Give it another minute, let people hop in, let people join us. Give everybody a chance to get ready, stream with us. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Just giving it about 30 more seconds or so, and then we'll jump into our whole spiel, our whole welcome. Like I said, giving people a chance to hop on, join us. Then we'll jump into it. Today is our second installment of MetaTailor University. We're looking at importing clothing 102. We've done a lot of importing clothing streams in the past. So if you like what you see today, we have other videos, other live streams just like it. All right, let's jump into it. So once again, for all of you who've been hanging out, for all of you who are joining us, welcome to the MetaTailor Weekly Live Stream. We are about to stream what we are calling our MetaTailor University, which is a 5-part series. We are on part 2 of this 5-part series about the basics of MetaTailor. Over this summer, we had a lot of events. We went to SIGGRAPH. We've got a lot of new users, so we're going over all the basics from truly beginning playing in MetaTailor for the first time, all the way to our new plugins, our Character Creator 4 plugin, and our Unreal Engine plugin that is in beta testing. But today, we're looking specifically at importing clothing, and I pulled out 3 outfits: an easy outfit, a tougher outfit, and just a third outfit, just to show you how it kind of works and walk through the different steps of preparing an outfit and bringing it into MetaTailor. Some stuff you can bring in straight off the web. Some stuff it takes a little finagling in a 3D program of your choice. So we're going to look at all of that and cover the entire basics of importing clothing. Like I said, importing clothing is one of my favorite things to stream. It's one of the probably the most live streams we have is just importing clothing. So if you like what you see today, go back, watch our past live streams, but also like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you join us on our Discord. I'm going to drop the Discord link in the chat here in just a moment, but our Discord is an amazing community. We've got a great support team. If you've got questions, we try to get them answered as fast as possible. But not only that, the community itself is amazing. If you've got questions on MetaTailor, Unreal Engine, Maya, anything in the realm of 3D, there's probably somebody in our Discord channel that can help you with that question. So please join our Discord channel, because on top of all of that awesome stuff, that's where we announce all these streams. That's where we post the links to all these streams, and sometimes we have secret streams. What was that? We have secret streams sometimes on our Discord for our Discord followers. So feel free to join us and join us on our Discord. I'm going to drop the link in there right now. Hello, Logan. Yes, import ahoy. Here we go. So let's go ahead and grab our link to our server, invite people to our MetaTailor server. Make sure it's my MetaTailor server and not one of my other servers. Not my Pokemon servers and everything else I'm a part of. All right, drop that in the chat. All right, so there's a link to our Discord server. If you are not a part of it, join it, hop in. It's free. Discord's free. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to go to my desktop here. Cut the music down a little bit. There's my wonderful head right there. So I've got MetaTailor ready to go. I'm about to hit play, but before I do that, let's look at the first outfit we're going to talk about. So I'm going to actually open up Maya. So the first outfit, it's a very simple outfit. It's an outfit that needs no help. It doesn't need any work to it. I downloaded it off of Sketchfab. It's a long sleeve, kind of puffy shirt and a dress, a nice kind of like corduroy looking dress. So it is a very simple outfit, very low poly. And I picked this one to show you that you can pull something from anywhere on the web. You don't need to have Maya. You don't need to have anything. All you need to do is bring it into MetaTailor. But I want to show you what it looks like before we bring it into MetaTailor. So I open up Maya to import it and just show you this FBX. So this is just a regular FBX file right there. And I'll hit F, there it is. So there it is, super simple, super easy, 3D. That poly count, it's not too terribly high. Last week I got in trouble because my poly count was a little too high. But what's important about this is the two pieces are separate. They're not one piece. So we're gonna be importing this as two separate pieces. So it is an FBX and those are separable. So, but this is the import right here. It has some textures and sources that we're gonna pull in, but this is just kind of the basics I wanted to show you in Maya. And then also I have Maya up for the next thing. So here's MetaTailor. I'm gonna go ahead and hit play. I already checked for updates. We're good to go on our updates. Let's hit play and jump into MetaTailor. So some of the stuff I'm gonna go over, some of the stuff I'm gonna do is the basics. I won't be explaining everything I'm doing, all the basic stuff. I'll try to explain as much as I can. But last week, we had our basic stream. So if there's something I'm doing that you're not sure, feel free to ask the question. I'm happy to answer that. But also, give our past streams a watch. The last stream was specifically on the basics, going over every tab in MetaTailor, talking about the marketplace, importing, all of that stuff. So today, we're going to kind of just delve into specifically grabbing specific outfits. Now you'll see my MetaTailor library is full of outfits. This is a benefit of our pro users. I highly recommend doing pro, especially if you're looking at importing and exporting a lot of clothes. Our non-pro users get 5 imports and exports a month. For our pro users, you get unlimited. So you can have a massive library like this. I can't remember off the top of my head how many slots you get. You only get a limited number of slots for a non-pro user, for a free user. For a pro user, unlimited slots. On top of that, if there's any outfit or anything you see in here that you like, oh, I've been looking for that or something like that, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to share any of these with our community. Anything you see here, anything I do on the live streams, I make sure all the outfits I pull are from Sketchfab, DeviantArt, Fab.com, and they're free. I'm trying to not use any paid content when I do these live streams so you can do the same thing I am or use the same assets that I am. So just keep that in mind. So let's pull up the Sketchfab. So we've got Sally right here. I can actually probably just play with Sally. I'll delete our MetaTailor 101. That was from last week. Let's go ahead and pull up Sally. So just double click on this project right there, and I've got this MetaHuman named Sally. We'll be importing a MetaHuman in for probably our Unreal Engine stream. So if you're interested in how MetaHumans and the new MetaHumans in Unreal, take a look. Stick around. That's in a later stream. We've also done it in past streams. So if you need it now, let me know. So here's Sally. Let's go ahead and import the dress and shirt. So let's go ahead and hit import. Cloth and accessories, and you'll notice it needs to be an FBX, OBJ, MTA, GLTF, or GLB. Just make it an FBX. You can do all those other ones, but FBXs are always the best option. And I called this puff sleeve source, and there is the FBX. Now it's just one FBX, and I said we're going to be bringing in 2 pieces. So you can see it's bringing it in as both, but what's really neat about this import is I can choose which mesh in this FBX I want to import. I don't do this very often in the other streams, but because this is an import focus stream, I really wanted to show this to you. So you can see right here my meshes. It shows me the 2 meshes. As long as it's separated in the FBX, which means you can pull it up in Maya, you can pull it up in Blender, you can pull it up in 3ds Max, and it's technically 2 separate meshes, you can decide which one to bring in. So I can turn off the shirt and just bring in the dress. And I'll call this one dress. And let's go ahead and grab a color. I'm going to grab my color. I'm going to go to my sources. Comes with a texture. It's got the base color right there. I like this. We're working on the skirt part. So the skirt base color right here. Let's go ahead and open. We're gonna turn our, let's see, hue, saturation value. Why isn't that showing up? Round skirt, we got that. Definitely not the hue. Is it the saturation? Am I spacing out here? Nope. Value. Metallic. Smoothness. Oh, it's because I'm on the shirt. I forgot to click right here and change it to skirt. And there we go. Skirt. There's that texture I was looking for. Did it come with a normal map? It did. Did it come with an ambient occlusion map? It did. Did it come with a roughness map? It did. And did it come with a metal map? It did. It has no metal, so just flat map. So there you go. So there's this really cool dress. I'm going to call it, like I said, it's kind of like a corduroy or a denim material. I'll call it green denim dress. So it just kind of keeps my library a little bit more organized. That way when I look at the word just dress, it doesn't pull up 50 different dresses. We'll grab our green denim dress. And now this one's ready to go. It's going to skip the shirt and just do the dress for us. So let's go ahead and next step. When you're importing, it's asking you what do you want to classify it as. Well, this is a dress, so let's call it a dress. This also helps kind of choose your scale and your size. You can check keep scale dimensions, but the scale dimensions are gargantuan, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that, and it's going to let MetaTailor do its best to try to figure out how to fit this dress. It's going a little bit long, going all the way down to the feet. That's okay, because we can still fix it. This is mostly just for the category and helping you out for the next step. So I hit next step. And then in this next part, we get two options. We can adjust the body to match the clothes or adjust the clothes to match the body. We usually do a combination of both with whatever we're working on. For this one, the dress is in a pretty good position. So you can see I don't necessarily have to move the body too much. I will scale it down. And so if you've watched any of my past live streams, my number one trick for when I'm working on live streams, or not working on live streams, working on imports, is to aim for the neck and shoulders. To me, that is the best way to get anything to fit your character, is to aim for this top part right here, and then everything else just kind of falls into place. That's how you can tell you have the right scale, you've got the right size, and get everything to match. There we go. And so we don't need to match it perfectly, we just need to match it about 60% of the way. But I will go ahead and go into my pose match. My pose match is what allows me to match my body to the clothes. Now we did a little bit of this last week. You can see the butt is a little bit big. I could try pulling it forward a bit. There we go. Like I said, you just need to match about 60%. Let's bring the legs back. And at 60%, it'll do the rest for you. So that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and hit confirm. Now you'll see, there's stuff sticking out, there's stuff not quite right. That's okay. Let's go ahead and hit next step and see the magic of what MetaTailor does. What MetaTailor is doing is it's taking this dumb mesh. You saw, this was just an FBX from Sketchfab. There's nothing special, it's just a triangulated mesh with some textures on it. And MetaTailor is taking it from a dumb mesh from Sketchfab and turning it into a smart mesh that we use inside MetaTailor. And so what that does is it tries to wrap it around the body. And this did a phenomenal job. I've got no notes, no questions, no issues. If I want to, I can grab this character and go into my viewport settings, and let's just kind of see what it looks like moving. So there's a little clipping here because we're not applying physics. It's doing its best. But what I was more concerned about was, were these hips going to follow along with the hands? Sometimes when you have an A pose or your hands are a little bit close to your hips, it can get some pulling. And if you get that, it's best to try re-importing it and doing a couple tips and tricks, or putting it on a model who is in a T pose instead of an A pose. So there's different things you can do to avoid that. I just did this to double check that, and it's not, because it fit perfectly the first try. Because MetaTailor just works. It just works. Awesome. So we've got the dress, it's ready to go, it's sitting in my content, I could add this to whatever character I want. Before I do that, let's go ahead and import the shirt. Import, cloth and accessories, same exact process. Go to your source, we can grab this same FBX. And this time I'm gonna get rid of the skirt. This time I don't need to change the material, I want it to go to the shirt, not the skirt. Go to color, go back to our textures, and now I'm gonna grab my shirt. Having issues with shorts between the knees. The next, I don't have shorts, but I have pants today. So we'll see if we can't show you some ways to kind of avoid that. It's tough. It is tough. It takes some finagling, especially if the legs are really close or the shorts are really baggy. It can be very difficult to kind of get that into the right spot. I believe we are working on ways to work around that with new tools and stuff. I don't have any information on that today, but it is in the update pipeline to make that a little bit easier. All right, so I'm grabbing the shirt base color. I'm grabbing the shirt normal map. Grabbing the shirt ambient occlusion. Just making sure that doesn't put weird shadows. No, looks good. I saw like it looked like it had shadows for the straps, and I didn't want to have that to show up because I want this shirt to be usable on other characters as well. And it does not look like it has that. If it does, we'll just go back in and fix it. And shirt has no metallic either, so I don't know why I keep grabbing that. All right. And next step. And same thing. This time, instead of a dress, we're going to call it a shirt. We can check our dimensions, but I know it's going to be huge again, so let's hit next step. And so clearly you can see these shirts and dress was created for a character with a much more cartoonish body pose, much more cartoonish standing pose. So it's taking a little bit of extra work to get this into position, but we'll just keep aiming for that neck. Right here, you can see that collar is pretty big, so I'll make that a little bit smaller so it wraps around our neck a little bit better. Like that. That's looking pretty good. Maybe look a little bit bigger. Not that big. Just kind of trying to find a happy medium. Right about there. That feels good. Bring it down, bring it over. And you can see it sitting in the arms and the shoulders. Let's make this bigger. Let's make it bigger. Let's do it. There we go. Let's bring that down a little bit more. I was going to have to do like a lot of moving of the body, so that's why I decided to make it bigger right there. Because I thought to myself, I'm going to have to move those hips up and everything else. But now if I make it a little bit bigger, there's less for me to do. So let's go ahead and start our pose match. So our character shoulders are much more broad than the original character shoulders. So let's bring those in a little bit. Now, like I said, 60% is what you're aiming for. If you can get better than 60%, do it. Make your life easier. But 60%, and that's just a random made-up kind of number. 60% is not some magical vertice count that's hidden in the background. That's just my experience using this. Having a couple spots that stick out or anything like that, that's okay. You can work around that. MetaTailor can work with that. MetaTailor does a really good job working with that. So one of the big things that I'm paying attention to is where these landmarks are landing in the actual body. So you'll see I'll pay special attention to the wrists, because if the wrists are way down here, it'll manipulate the shirt to always stay like a little bit higher cuffed. For some shirts, that's what you want. If they have rolled up sleeves, you want that to hit the elbow. If you manipulate the arms at the rolled up sleeves or at the wrist, it'll stretch that shirt and move it so that cuff stays at the sleeve, and that's not what we want. So I want to make sure my wrist is sitting exactly where we want it to, sitting where exactly it would be on this model. And that's right about there. You can see there's a little bit sticking out here. I don't want to get too far into the hand. Even that feels maybe like a little too much, but I'll leave it there. Those are kind of the key landmarks I'm looking for. Same with shoulders, same with neck, same with head, because it's going to manipulate this mesh to make it match a little bit better. If I wanted to bring this head back a little bit, I could, and that's going to bring the collar forward, but I'm going to undo that. I will bring my hips forward to kind of match this, like I said, odd standing pose. Bring them in a little bit. And so now it's always going to crop this shirt right here at the belly button. If I don't want that, let's bring those hips up. And what that'll do is we can check our pose match. So you can see I've kind of made this more of an alien body, but the reason for that is to aim for those points. And actually I'll bring them out just a little bit. So you can see I'm bringing my hips out just a little bit outside of the shirt. So there's a couple things that I'm doing here. First, by making the body a little bit longer and a little bit more alien, what that's going to do is it's going to stretch the bottom of this shirt to make sure it stays closer below her belly button where the shirt line actually would fall. The second thing I did was I pulled these hips outside of the mesh. Now I was able to get them to match underneath the mesh just fine, but by pulling them outside, it is forcing the influence right here of the shirt to go to the hips. It takes away any influence the hands might accidentally have. Now there is a risk. Because I'm bringing these hips out a little bit farther, it could be adding influence to these bottom puffs of this sleeve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Preview Pose Wrap, and we'll watch it wrap the shirt around the body in a kind of rough way. It's not doing it perfectly. Perfectly is when we hit Next Step, but we can preview it. And we can see it pulls those arms back, it pulls that shirt down, so we can see some of those changes. You can see there's some big pulling back here. So we can see maybe we need to bring our shoulders out a little bit more so there's less pulling. Now let's hit Preview Pose Wrap. All right, so you can see there's a little less pulling in the back of the shirt. That's fine. We got to hope MetaTailor can fix some of these points in here and some of these points here. So let's give that a shot. So that preview pose wrap helped me see, all right, it doesn't look like the sleeves are affected. And it does look like I was getting too much of an effect on the back. The back was pulling too far, so I kind of corrected that. So preview pose wrap is a really strong tool to give you a quick glimpse of what might happen when you go and you hit confirm and next step. All right, so no body parts are sticking out. It's looking a little bulky, but it's sitting nicely on our character. You can see it's sitting nicely on her wrists. But there's a new problem. We talked about this a lot last week. So you can see the shirt is above the dress, which is okay. And you can also see, so here's some of that ambient occlusion I was worried about. It was hard to see with that mesh, but I might go back in and take that ambient occlusion off. You can see it's kind of baked in a shadow right here. And I don't love that look of a baked in shadow. But for now, I'm going to leave it as is. Because the shirt is on top, what I can do is I can now take this and drag it underneath. And our dynamic layering fix it. It tucks that shirt in. It makes sure there's no clipping. It kind of pushes it in, pushes that collar underneath. So now it looks like the dress we saw in Maya. And then we can go in and we can finish up this character. Let's go to clothing. Let's go to hair. Let's give it, it's called frag hair. It's from our frag character. That's just cute kind of hair. Some polygon driven, like mussy hair. There we go. Let's find some boots. I was thinking like riding boots, pirate boots, horse racing boots. That's perfect. Some cute boots on this character right here. Some horse racing boots. I don't love the black color. What can I go ahead and do? I can come into my hue. I can come into my saturation. You can see it's adding a little bit of green to it. I could take that down. Take the value down. Or was it take the value up? Oops, it does not like me messing with that slider. Value up. I'm going to take away. I could probably just kill the color like that. There we go. It was influencing on top of the color. I was trying to take away some of that color, but we can aim for more of a brown. Like that. That's a pretty cute outfit. On Sally here, let's see. Do we have anything that's kind of like tights? I have never pulled in tights or yoga pants or anything like that. So let's see. Oh, let's get out of shoes. Let's see. What do I have? Do I have tights? I got Sabrina. Oh, from our Pokemon. What do the Sabrina tights look like? Pull those beneath the boots. Looking a little odd. The yellow. It's from the Pokemon trainer Sabrina. One of our live streams. Let's go ahead and clear those. Don't like those tights. Let's just take a look at pants and just find some like skin tight black pants. Horse racing pants. I mean, that's kind of, or trouser right here from before. Look at those trousers below everything. If we want those a little bit tighter, we could take that. We could take our shrink wrap and dial that up. I usually keep it around the 70s and 80s. Anything beyond that, and it starts to clip into the mesh, but there we go. Look at that. She's ready for fall. That feels like a very fall outfit. This character's got a pumpkin spice latte, AirPods in, living their best life at a Starbucks. So that is simply importing. That is pulling something directly off of Sketchfab. No editing in Maya. I didn't do anything in Maya other than show you that it was two separate meshes and take a look at it. This is pulling directly from the web and bringing it into MetaTailor, and it just works. Those are the import steps. Now let's take a look at another one. I'm going to go ahead and save Sally here and go home. So we're going to do a whole new character, but we're going to look at this one in Maya again. So go ahead and minimize MetaTailor. Got Maya pulled up. Let's delete this. I don't need my launcher. Let's go ahead and hit File, Import. Or actually, I don't need to do import because I have it pre-set up in Maya. I did a couple things before. So File, Open Scene, Desktop. Let's take a look at the CSGO one's really cool. So let's do the Tactical Armor. Not that it's not cool. It's a little less cool, but it's still pretty cool. It's Tactical Armor. At least they called it like Tactical Police Armor. And so here it is. So this one is a whole bunch of pieces. It was one solid mesh. So what I did go in and do is I started to separate it. I made sure all the textures were there. If you can preload the textures in a program like Maya or in Blender or in 3ds Max, anything that you can add textures to your character, it'll save you some time in MetaTailor because FBXs remember that connection. So I went through and I made sure those connections were there. I made sure everything was separated. On top of all that, I made sure to check everything. So a lot of times these things have caps on the pants and the legs. I did this for the next one as well. So caps for pants and legs, you want to delete those. They're a little bit open. If you don't, sometimes it'll still work. Sometimes the outfit will break. It's just better to kind of remove that. So with something like this, I could take all of these and export this as one big group and go into MetaTailor like we were and click all the buttons to kind of pick which ones I want to come in and come out. But alternatively, if you have experience in one of these 3D programs, you can go through and automatically start exporting these out as their own FBXs. So what I can start doing is I can take a look at these shoes. Specifically with something like shoes, I can take this and I know I can delete half of these. That'll have the poly count. This is a pretty high poly count shoe, so we'll see how it works. But this also lets us set the shoe up a little bit easier. So with this selected, I'm going to go to File, Export Selection. Make sure it is under my tactical armor. I'm going to set a new folder, and let's call this FBXs. And I'll call this Tactical Shoe. And export the selection. All right, now I can go ahead and hide this. Bring everything back. Let's go ahead and take a look at the gloves. Gloves is a feature for our pro users. So we're going to take a look at how to import a glove next. Let's go to object mode, focus on this one glove. That looks good. Let's take this glove, File, Export Selection, and call this Tactical Glove. And we can hide that, Control 1. So that's it for the pieces that would get mirrored, that we only need one of. Everything else will just kind of export it as it is. There's this big collar right here. I don't know what this is for. It says police on the back. Let's export it. File, Export Selection, call it Tactical Collar. Let's grab the shirt here. File, Export Selection, Tactical Shirt. Isn't that from Archer? Wasn't there like a tactical crew neck or... All right, let's take a look at, let's do the pants. Let's focus on the pants because I don't know what to call the last thing just yet. So File, Export Selection, Tactical Pants. And let's bring it back. So we got two parts here. We got this vest part and these guys. And you know what? I don't think I would ever use these without the vest. So this will be a piece where I'll grab both of these and do File, Export Selection. I'll call this Tactical. Do I have vest? I don't have vest. I'd also call it gear or anything like that, but I'll call it vest. Awesome. Does that go into the pants? Let's take a look. So that'd be interesting. So it does go into the pants. So something like this might be a little bit difficult. I might leave this out. We'll see how well it does in MetaTailor, because the fact that it kind of does the top half of the body and the bottom half of the body, it might have been something where you want to go in. If you really wanted to do something like this, I would probably take and split off the top part. But we'll see how it does. All right, so that is one way to start exporting pieces out in Maya, how to start preparing things in Maya to make it MetaTailor ready. In the next one, we're going to take that one more step. We're going to do the same exporting selection, but I'm going to talk about some other things I did with that one to make that one ready. So let's go ahead and close out of this, or at least minimize it. And let's go ahead and open up MetaTailor again. And let's go ahead and hit New Project. And we'll call this Tactical Tom. All right. And we'll go through those same steps we did before and start importing this and bringing these pieces in. So let's go ahead and hit Import, Cloth and Accessories. Let's get out a puff sleeve and find our tactical armor. Grab our FBXs and let's start with our tactical shirt. Right there, big body. It did not export that correctly. Why not? Well, let's hit Cancel. Let's just check another one and see if it was just the shirt, or if somehow, okay, so the shoe's working. So we can do the shoe for now, and then we'll go back in and we'll re-export that shirt. I must have grabbed too much for the shirt. So like I said, it already has the albedos connected for us because I did that in Maya. Now I can go in and I can start adding the normals. Any ambient occlusion? No, but we do have albedo, metallic, roughness, and that's it. So let's go back to our roughness. Boot roughness. It has a JPEG and a JPG. I guarantee you there's probably a reason for that. Me, as somebody who doesn't care, I don't know. I can't tell you the nuances between a JPG and a JPEG. It's all about how it's compressed and how it's created. But for us, they work exactly the same. All right, so it's called Tactical Shoe for us already. It took that from the name of the export. It has the name of the mesh itself, Polysurface 1. I don't need to change that because we'll never see it again. And it's got all of our maps on it. So let's go ahead and hit next step. We'll call this a boot. Keep source dimensions. Source dimensions are pretty good. So we'll hit keep source dimensions and hit next step. Now, this is why I like one shoe instead of two shoes. Because with one shoe, I can take this shoe and I can place it. Oops. There we go. Around the foot. So I can move this, I can move this. If I have two shoes, I'm trying to place it across 2 feet. And on top of that, with two shoes, I'm trying to place the foot in the shoe instead of the shoe on the foot. Where one shoe, it's much, much easier to get this wrapped around the foot. So a couple clicks like that, and we're good to go. I'll scale it up a little bit. Like that. And look at that. The shoe is done. If I was trying to do that with two shoes, the moment I scaled it, it would be too big. I wouldn't be able to get the foot in there. So that's why I like to do just one shoe. It's a lot easier to move the object for a shoe or for something that's mirrored than it is to try to move the model. Other things, it's pretty equal. So there's the shoe. And like I said, all I have to do is click mirror and it moves that shoe over. They're sitting pretty nicely. Let's go to our viewport. Let's take a look at it running. They're not pulling on each other. They're doing everything like they're supposed to. They're a little bit big for my import. I probably could have made them a little smaller. That's on me. And you can always go in and change that. I could shrink that just a little bit more. Oops, wrong way. Gonna move it back into position. Confirm. There it goes. So it adjusted those. All right, let's try to import something else and we'll discover other things that might have been over-selected. FBXs, let's do our pants. Cool, just the pants. Let's add our normal maps. I think this is all under, it says Lambert 3, so Lambert 1. Let's call this one, it should just be, I don't think it's a Rusgs. I think it's just armor. Does that look right? Nope. Oops. Lambert 1. Oh, there it is. It was armor. I grabbed the wrong map. Yep, that looks really cool. We don't have ambient armor. We got roughness, armor roughness. Just softens that up. Armor metallic. I don't think it has any metallic. All right. Tactical pants. Don't need to change anything else. Next step, call them pants. Let's call pants a pants. Keep source dimensions. Keeps it a little bit bigger. All right, let's get these pants placed. All right, so Logan, you're saying you're having trouble with knees and pants. So let's get these into position and talk about maybe some tips and tricks that might help with that. So as you're doing your imports and trying to get that landed in the right spot, what you might want to be able to consider is in your pose matching, you might want to consider maybe pulling these legs inwards a little bit more and making sure that these legs are kind of covering that influence and they're not overlapping. If that's still grabbing it, you can try the other direction and try to like pull them away from each other and make sure they're only grabbing influence around here. Those are kind of two things that I try to do if my knees aren't working perfectly. You can also change the size of the legs by bringing the legs up and down. But when you do that, remember, it could just adjust how the pants are sitting on the actual foot. So let's move these over. And we'll move them down a little bit. And over. But if you cheat the pants and what you're working with a little bit by making sure that parts of it are overlapping where they're supposed to and you're not matching 100% and you're kind of, like I said, cheating it outwards or inwards, sometimes that can help if the knees grab too much because they're getting too close. For something like this, I don't know if that's going to happen. Let's hit next step and see. Bring those pants below those shoes. So they're tucked into those shoes. It doesn't look like it's going to be pulling. So try to get in there and get that sitting there. So I got this character running. You can see it's looking good. There is a little bit of chafing in his pants right here. He's kind of carved a hole in his pants from where he's running. This could be something similar to the issue you're running into where it's getting pulled in the wrong direction because the legs are too close. For something like this, for me, all I would really have to do is start to crank up that thickness a little bit. And that's working. Let's go ahead and change the yield a little bit. And that's working. And this might also be an instance where I want to start thinking to myself, ooh, that worked pretty well though. Let's go back to viewport settings with those two applied. I can also start going into the tools and trying to get that if that's something that bothers me. You can see that's pulling a little bit, so I might want to pull those thighs apart if I wanted to re-import that. Redo pose match. I might want to try to pull those apart a little bit more. Make them thinner. Hit knees and elbows, bring those knees out a little bit more. Just got to pull those legs apart a little bit more. Hit confirm. Let's see how much better that does. So those legs are closer together, but if I go to my viewport settings, how did I do? It's still pulling a little bit. So sometimes it just takes some trial and error getting that into the right spot because those are those tight areas. Those are those areas where you might have a little bit of trouble with it because it's the body, it's the skin taking over the influence. Let's do redo pose match. Pull that out again, viewport settings, hit play. Yeah, that'll just take a little work, especially for those running scenes. But let's go ahead and keep working. It's just trial and error, making sure that area is a little tight and cleaned up. Let's go ahead and add, we've got tactical armor, FBXs, shoe, pants. Let's go ahead and do the shirt. So I could go back into my re-import this, do everything I need to do, or I can click on this and I could take off the collar. I could take off whatever it considers DF. I could take off SD. I want WE, so I'll take off everything but WE. And there's WE, and there's Polysurface. Take that off. There we go. Lambert 2, so we'll go to normal. Call that armor normal. Looking good. Armor roughness. Armor metallic. All right. Just making sure that looks good, and it does. Call this a shirt. I'll not do keep source dimensions on this one. All right, sorry, checking chats. And with that collar a little bit higher, it's supposed to be like a turtleneck. Scale it up a little bit. There we go. There we go. All right. Confirm. Let's start our pose match. So this is one of those instances where we really want to bring the body down to the arms. A little bit gear 4 Luffy in there. We'll bring it back. Land it a little bit better. Oops, that's the toes. It's got to be this one. There we go. Bring the elbow in. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Bring our butt up a little bit. Bring it forward a little bit. Bring our shoulders in a little bit. All right, let's do a preview pose wrap on this. All right, so you can see it's coming in a little bit here. A lot of times I have to come in and fix these underarms with the tools. Let's see, is there anything I can do to kind of prevent that? It's a little bit better. All right, so let's go ahead and hit confirm, next step, and see how that does. Not too bad. Like I said, under here, I always kind of have to fix underneath here when you're going from an A pose to a T pose. So I can grab my grab, I can hit my sculpt layered. which is going to sculpt on top of this so I can see kind of what I'm doing. I always do a big brush. And I always just kind of make big, general, overarching changes. You don't want a small brush in something like this just because it's going to pull tiny little, like, not strings, but like little points, little spikes, and I don't want that. So big, broad changes. Touching that up, hit confirm. And that's looking a little bit better. Then if we go back to our viewport and go to running, that shirt's looking really good. All right, let's bring the collar in. I'm saving the gloves for last. If you're excited for the gloves, I am too, so I'm saving those for last. Collar is going to be easy. I'm not going to call it, so let's see. Let's do our tactical collar. We want that to sit around the neck as some sort of, I don't know, police thing, neck protection. I don't know. It's cool looking. That's why I took it. And this is under Lambert too, so let's give it a normal. That's the wrong normal. So what would you exist under? Call you Lambert 1 normal. Nope. What do you exist under? You're part of the Razgruz. Yep, you're Razgruz. There we go. Roughness, Razgruz. Oops, it's metallic. Next step. So I don't want to call this a accessory because it won't move the body in the same way as some of the other pieces. They're solid objects. I don't want to call this a jacket or a full body. I'd probably call this a shirt. Sometimes I'll call it a belt. Probably not a backpack. Let's call this, I think I'm going to call this, I could call it a headpiece because it's under the head. Let's call it a headpiece. It's going to put it a little high, but we'll fix that. Because we decide where it sits, and we just kind of move it right there. Make it, scale it down a little bit. Like that. I think that's pretty good. Confirm, I don't need to pose match anything. It's hit next step. There we go. Some sort of like neck collar thing. Simple as that. Now I know it's also hidden under her head. Wanted to make it bigger. I could. Huge. Some sort of sci-fi collar thing. All right, let's get that big vest thing going. Call that the vest. And then the last thing we're gonna do is our gloves. So this one's interesting. I think I'm gonna call this one full body. Right here, we're probably definitely gonna have some clipping in between these two. But let's go ahead and get this set up. Normal maps, I bet you this is our Razgruz. Yep, that looks right. Roughness, Razgruz. Metallic, Razgruz. Fun word to say. Next step, so I'm going to call this one full body. Keep source dimensions. And bring this up. That's sitting nicely right there. I might scale it up just a little bit. Bring it back a little bit. Start pose match. I do want to bring my hips forward and up because I want this sitting on the thighs right here. Bring my thighs up and out a little bit. Bring them back a little bit. There we go. So the higher up I bring my thigh, the higher down this will be dragged. So let's do a preview pose wrap. All right, not too bad. Pose wrap. All right, so that's pretty good. So those weird alien legs I was making is what's giving us a nice kind of movement there. Confirm, next step. Let's see how it does. On top of everything else. All right, that added it nicely. I just fear that if I go to animate this, we're going to see a little weird clipping down there, but we never know until we try. It's doing a pretty good job. Let's go ahead and slow it down. Let's get some light down here. I can change my rotation so we can see some light around the back. We can blow up our exposure a little bit. All right, so looking at this, there's a little clipping in between those thighs, and that's just, I mean, I can keep playing with it, messing with it, but this is so tight together that that little bit of clipping, a little bit of chub rub there in his thighs, that's gonna be inevitable. I don't think there's gonna be a lot I can do with this piece until we get a way to make sure that the influence for this leg is only on this side and the influence for this leg is only on this side. Until we enact something like that, I don't know if there's gonna be much we can do to fix that. We can take away some of the yield. We get to add some thickness to it. We can do different things here and there, but there's always going to be, right where that's rubbing, there's always going to be a little bit of clipping. Luckily, that's in an area we really can't see too bad. So I can spin that around, go back to our viewport settings and hit play. So that's altogether not too bad for like this tactical set of armor. Ooh, let's bring the tactical vest underneath this so that that collar sits on top. That'll look better. Look at that. That's looking really cool. All right. So now the last thing we're going to take a look at is going to be our gloves. Gloves is a feature available only to our pro users. This was a new feature at the beginning of the year, Q1. It's a really, really cool tool. So cool. I've never seen anything do this. So this is a treat. Let's go ahead and try to get gloves added to our character here. This is our MetaTailor standard character, so it should work. Sometimes, depending on the avatar you bring in, gloves are not supported. Let's go ahead and grab this. We're going to grab our glove, and let's remember we have our left glove. It's important to remember that. Let's go ahead and open. There is our glove. Looking good. Let's add our maps. There is no other program that's about to do what we're going to do if it works the way I want it to. All right, so how do you exist? Part of Lambert 1, good to know. So, gloves. Keep source dimensions, that's fine. Next step. This is the left hand. All right, so with our gloves, what it wants us to do is it just wants us to essentially place the joints starting with the wrist. And so I have found starting underneath the hand is usually a little bit better. So I'm gonna try to get a good angle underneath the hand. And then we're gonna go point by point. What MetaTailor is about to do, there is no other program I've seen that can do this. I am a rigger by trade. I am a 3D rigger outside of MetaTailor. It's what I teach. It's what I do for work. 3D rigging is kind of my life. So what it's going to do is it's going to place these points center mass, and it's going to do a really good job of building a rig based off of just these points. So let's go ahead and start with the wrist. And then for each of these, it wants 4 points. So it's going to go bottom of the thumb, this joint right here, this joint right here, and then the tip. So let's go ahead and aim for bottom of the thumb right here. And then as you start clicking and aiming for those main points, it's going to draw a yellow line for you. And you can see I'm not moving my camera anywhere. This is a non-orthographic view. I'm doing this off of a non-orthographic view just from the bottom of the glove, from where I think those knuckles should be. Hitting each knuckle. Now, if you mess up and you miss a knuckle or you forget one, you're best off just kind of escaping and re-importing it, deleting it if it imports it, and re-importing it. But if you do it well and you nail all those points on the first try and you spin around, look at that. It is center mass. That's huge. What just took me about, what, 10 clicks, 15 clicks? For something in rigging would take me hours. Literally like 1 to 2 hours to do this on a rig using Maya, creating bones, skinning it, everything like that. So it needs a little bit of work, but it is on the hand. I could take that and I can crank up my shrink wrap a little bit. I can adjust some of the stuff. I can move stuff around my tools. Add some thickness, take away some yield, really try to get that glove into position. It's tweaking the weights, it's landing it, it's doing it. We can mirror it over once it's ready. So that thumb needs a little bit of work. Crank up our thickness a little bit more, crank up our thickness and shrink wrap, kind of combining those two to get this to wrap around those fingers. And struggling with that thumb, but let's take a look at what is extra cool about all this is in my viewport settings, if I did something like, what's a great one? It is pulling a rope, climbing up pull rope. you can see once I go through and I start fixing these gloves and getting that thumb into a little bit better position, look at that. Look, it's animated, it's rigged, it's skinned. A hand with individual fingers is skinned. Look at that. So yes, now the big thing is, like I said, going in there, you can see our thumb's a little bit off, playing with these sliders, maybe taking shrink wrap off. That did a pretty good job for all the fingers, except for kind of this gap right here in the thumb. So maybe that's something I take my grab tool. And like I said, I like big overarching changes, but not that big because that's too big for our thumb. I can come in here and see if I can't just kind of do that. And you can see some of these fingers are a little weird. I couldn't see that before because it's inside the hand, but I can just take my smooth tool, touch that a couple times just to confirm, let that reskin it. Hitting the smooth tool kind of adjusted that side. So let's go back to our tools. These tools are available to our pro users. Push, pull. There you go. Just tap, tap. It inflates it a little bit. So if you're on the fence about getting the pro tools, you don't know what to do, if you should do it, getting these tools alone, getting the access to gloves, these tools, everything that I'm doing in here absolutely makes pro worth it. That is what's going to make your outfit perfect. That's what's going to take it to that next level, that next step, and that's available to all pro users. All of our new features, gloves, plugins, all that stuff, always available to our pro users. So if you want this extra level, I highly recommend doing that. Now look at those gloves. Those gloves are near perfect. I gotta just touch up that one spot right there. So you can see sometimes you gotta go back and forth. Let's go ahead and go back to that punching. Now we have rigged and skinned gloves on this tactical fighting outfit. Look at that. Where's our lighting? Awesome. I always like to find a cool pose. Save our tactical time on that. So that's importing gloves. That's looking at it in Maya. That's doing a little bit more importing and nailing down gloves. All right, let's look at the last one. This is a character from CSGO. I don't play CSGO, so I don't know what this character looks great. I'll be giving it a try soon for a month to see if it plays well with CC5 and iClone. It should play with CC5 just fine. I personally haven't tried it yet, but it should. But yeah, let us know. Give us your feedback, Chris. Absolutely. I gotta get CC5. All right, let's go ahead. So this is the CSGO character. Let's go ahead and open up Maya. File, open scene, and let's talk about what I did for this one. And this is the last one. We're gonna go a little bit over time. Thank you all for hanging out with me, but I gotta show you this. I have to. Open, don't save. So same thing, I pulled this character up in CSGO. I split it up. This was all combined as one. There are certain pieces, like this scarf, kerchief around the elbow here, the knot, and these two pieces, and that were all one. I just made that the shirt. I definitely went in and I deleted the faces off the bottom here. So this is the one that I did. Let's go ahead and open up a new scene. Let's open up a new Maya, and I'll show you what it looked like from Sketchfab. All three of these today are on Sketchfab, so if you go to Sketchfab, they're free stuff. They're right in the top, so these are brand new stuff on Sketchfab. If you are looking for it specifically because you really like it, let me know. I'll send you my files. I got no problem. I'm not gatekeeping anything. I'll happily send it to you over Discord. So feel free to reach out. I am Mark on the Discord. happy to help you. So let's go ahead and import this FBX so I can show you kind of some of the stuff in a quick way on. So you pull something down, it's a little messy, it's not great. What can you do to get it MetaTailor ready? That's kind of what this last one's about. So I'm gonna open up that CSGO, pull up this. All right, so this one had a rig and I deleted the rig out of it. Next week, we are talking about importing avatars, importing stuff with rigs. So you can take a look at that and how to build your own rig. So you can see it's so big, it goes outside my camera's range. So I'll just add some more range to my camera. All right, so there's the character. So this was how it came in originally. No textures added. He's just kind of there and he's way too big. So I can take this whole thing and I'll scale the whole thing down to about 1/10 the size. That didn't work. So the other thing I can do is go in and take all of you off. And look, it automatically did that for me by unparenting that from this whole thing. Then I can delete all this. And there's that character. So let's talk about some of the things that I saw in here. So you can see some of these pieces are all connected. It's got hands and stuff like that. The first thing I did is I deleted the hands. This character does have gloves, but these gloves are fingerless, and right now MetaTailor cannot handle fingerless gloves. It has to have fingers. It doesn't know how to read out without having the tip because it's building that rig out of that hand. Technically, you could import that hand with the skin and have that be like a skin glove over his actual hand. Might look a little weird. That might be one way I would try to get around that. So there's tips and tricks you can do to get fingerless gloves to work, but that's some really advanced noodly doodly stuff that we're not doing right now. So I deleted the gloves altogether. We're not importing the gloves. Then the next thing I had to go in is I had to go into my faces, and I started deleting whole objects like these arms. We're not doing those arms. I could delete those arms. I know right off the bat I don't need both shoes, so I deleted one of those shoes. And then I came up here, and while he has cool hair and a cool face and a cool beard, you'll notice that is all kind of one object. There is no way to separate the hair from the head, so I just grabbed the whole head and deleted the head. You can import hair. You can import polygon hair. You saw with our very first character that we imported today, I had polygon hair from another character. Polygon hair is a great way to do that. You can do hair cards. I just sometimes feel like the polygon hair looks a little bit nicer. It's a little bit more cartoony. That's more my style. All right. So then the next thing I did is I went through and I hit shift right click and I separated all the pieces. And if you do that, you'll notice, holy moly, there's 60 different pieces here. And I don't want to import 60 different times into MetaTailor. So that's where I started going in. I'm like, all right, I know the shoe's a piece. So I'll go ahead and take that out and hide it. I know the pants are a piece. So I could take that out and hide it. Oh, that pants had a little belt buckle. So I'll grab all these belt buckles and bring that over with the pants. Is there anything else I want to add? Yep, there's this one right here. I'll take all those out. And hey, there's a couple pieces. I can put those in with the pants. Now I know this shirt is one piece. And this is where I discovered that the shirt had this part with it. So I take that out. And I just started going through it piece by piece and taking all of these elements out, putting them in their own little section. And that way I knew what to combine, what to check the textures on, and everything along those lines, just to make sure everything was working the way it was supposed to. So I did all that, and then I went in and I started adding all the textures. And adding the textures was super helpful. So you can see now, instead of 60 things, I have 8 groups. And so I can start going into those groups, combining it, adding those textures, checking those groups, see how they're working all together, and then combine those and export those out as FBXs. That's what we're going to do here in just a second. But the next thing I did is I started looking at the textures. Like, okay, cool, these textures are working. Here are the pants. Here's this weird kind of holster. Here's the shoe. All of these things had those same caps, so I deleted those caps out of the center so they didn't have any caps. But what really stood out to me here is that same kind of issue that I don't like when we find something is baked into the shirt. A shadow is baked into the shirt. So this is a moment where you have to decide, do I want this shirt to be separate from the scarf that he was wearing from that neck piece? And for this one, this shadow, this ambient occlusion shadow that they have baked into it, it's too big. So I can't do that. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to combine these two. Shift right click combine. And give it the same naming convention, CSGO, I'm going to call it shirt. So those are one of those moments that you might come across while you're working in Maya, separating this. Sometimes if there's something you want separated all together, like let's say this armband, you might have to go in and face by face, try to take that out, delete it, do something like that. I've had to do that with past pieces before. So when I prep something in Maya, those are kind of the steps that I take. Now let's go through real quick. Grab everything right here. And let's export it out. Oops, forgot our sunglasses. Those are some cool sunglasses. I want to bring those over. So File, Export Selection. Oh, Barter Tactical. I'm like, did I do it already? No, I didn't do it already. Same thing, new folder, FBXs. CS Sunglass. CS Pants. Now there is a way, CS Shoe, when you're importing this into MetaTailor, there is a way to import the entire outfit and kind of choose where each piece goes, and that's through a section called the mesh extractor. The mesh extractor comes when you're importing in an avatar. It lets you take all the clothing on that avatar and like import that at the same time. It uses that avatar and everything that goes along with that to do all of the importing for you. The only thing with that is you do have to make sure that you have an avatar underneath that. So we will actually take a look at that at length when we get to the 4th installment of MetaTailor University and we start doing our CC4 integration into MetaTailor. That's that week. Sorry, I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. But yeah, when we do our CC4 plugin and we'll take a look at that, that's a great time to show the mesh extractor because the characters coming out of CC4 always have clothes and a full body underneath. And that's the ideal situation for using the mesh extractor. You can use the mesh extractor outside of that. You can use the mesh extractor for a character like this. You'll just might end up with some pieces that you're going to delete anyway. So it's up to you when and how you use it, but I specifically like it when I am working on something from Character Creator 4 or a character with a clothes and a full body underneath it. All right, just 2 more pieces. Let's export and we'll import all of these into MetaTailor and then we will call it a night. So if you have any questions, concerns, quandaries about anything I've done today, feel free to drop it in the chat. You're more than welcome to take over the stream now, ask me questions. I'll show you everything I know. Or answer anything I can. If I can't answer it, I got a secret team that's watching me, helping me out here. I can reach out to them as well and see if they can help answer your question. If it's beyond my pay grade, if it's above my level of clearance here, my security clearance at the MetaTailor Pentagon, trying to make a joke there. All right, so new, we're going to call this CSGO, CS Guy. All right, I'm still using the MetaTailor default avatar. We'll be looking at a lot more avatars next week, but we're going to use our MetaTailor default avatar. Well, let's start importing these pieces. This is going to be pretty rote. This is going to be pretty repetitive. But the best way to learn something is to do it over and over and over and over again. I always like to start with the shirt. Let's be modest. Let's get a shirt on this guy. Ah, it looks so cool in MetaTailor. Look at that lighting. Look at that texture. Did this come with normal maps? I don't recall. Textures. I definitely have my TM Elite body variant. Head normal. Body normal. Yep, there it is. Was there anything else in there? There was body color, body normal, head color. Nope, so just colors and normals, which is fine because this is a very stylized piece. Call this a shirt. We keep our source dimensions. It's too small, so we won't use that. Let's move it up. And what do we aim for, chat? The neck. Always, always, always aim for the neck. Nice and big. This is going to look really cool on this character. This is going to look really cool on some of our other... I really like this outfit. It's going to look really cool on some of our other avatars. So this is this moment. Okay, so where do I want this to hit in relation to the elbow? The hands don't matter as much, but where do I want this to hit in relation to the elbow? Probably right about where I have it. I'm making those arms a little bit thicker because I don't want them to kind of hit in that area. Not only that, I can bring my hips in. That's sitting pretty nicely where I want it. I just wanted to see how far that was. Pull it back. We're using a MetaTailor kind of meta-human-esque character. I'm going to take the mirror off for a second so I can get this arm into a better position because he is slightly asymmetrical, which is aesthetically pleasing, but it's not aesthetically nice to match our character. I can do preview pose wrap, but I like the look of it. I'm going to have to touch up the undersides a little bit right there, unless I take away some of your influence, take away some of your influence, bring in some of your influence, and some of your influence, Undo those last two, turn on mirror and try that again. There we go. Let's do preview pose grab this way. So yeah, there's a little bit less. Arms are looking a little wacky though. Bring you back in. Up, turn the mirror off. Bring you back up. All right, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. All right, anytime we go from A to T, I always kind of, like I said, grab the grab. Just pull that in. Big, broad strokes. Gosh, that looks so cool. All right. Import. This is the style. I love this style. Pants. Pants normal. Body normal. Lower normal. Next step. Call pants a pants. Next step. Pull these up a little bit higher. Have that belt kind of sitting where it needs to. Make them a little bit bigger. So it's matching more of our model. Looking good. Oh, that looks really good right off the bat. I don't know if there's much I want to change with the body. So let's go ahead and hit confirm and next step. All right, coats tucked into the pants. If you don't want that, just drag them in your dynamic layers and they flip. But I do want that. They look kind of nice like that. You can see that belt. I think that's the way it's supposed to be based on the wrinkles here. That's the one downside to something really neat like this shirt, something very stylized, is they like to bake in the wrinkles because you don't want to have some live wrinkles in a video game. You want that baked in. So yeah, MetaTailor bakes the wrinkles in just like anything else, but it looks good still. So you want that. It takes away some of your customizability when you have baked in wrinkles like that. That still looks good. All right, let's do the next part. Let's do our shoes. Does that fall under our lower body? Yes, it does. Really rough shoes, but you're not supposed to look that close. Shoes. I always peek at the source dimensions to see if I feel like that's easier or harder. Even though everything else has been smaller, maybe something like the shoe would look a little different. All right, that's pretty good. Confirm. Don't need a pose match. Next step. And bring it below those pants. And mirror it over. We are flying through this character. All right, now I got to add some of the more difficult stuff. Let's do our leg holster. Looking good. So something like this, you have the option of calling it a belt. You have an option of calling it pants. I'm going to call it a belt. Because it's kind of attached to the belt here. Ooh, and this might be a little difficult because we don't remember how high we put our pants. I think our pants were sitting right around there. So we're doing a little bit of guesswork. We'll probably have to fix it when we get back in. But let's go ahead and hit confirm. Next step. Oh, I was close. I was really stinking close. Right about there. All right, over the pants, that's wrapped around nicely like that. The one thing you'll notice that isn't great is right here because it's considered two separate pieces. It's not tucking into the belt. To get something like this perfect, you'd want to make like this part of the strap a separate piece so it could tuck underneath the pants and that would match. It gets really technical. Instead, if you didn't like the look of this, you could always take your grab tool and really pull that in and kind of force it like that. Get it to kind of clip a little bit. And then if you really didn't like this part right here, if you were getting really close into this, you also have the option of a visibility brush. And a visibility brush allows you to kind of take something out of visibility. Now you want to be careful with it because it could take too much off. You can see I missed a couple faces here and there, but you can see it's kind of taken away some of those faces. Come in here. Took off some of those top faces. So yeah, so you can see this maybe took off too. Now I definitely know we took off too much. But you can see you can kind of cut that out if you needed to. All right, let's go ahead and hit import. Cloth and accessories, FBXs. We got a leg holster. Let's go grab our chest holster. Then we got our walkie-talkie. So something like this, I would probably call a backpack. Because it hangs roughly the same. I'm pretty happy with that. And it moves and it tucks the shirt away so there's no clipping. That's your smart mesh to dumb mesh. If I drag this below the shirt, watch what the shirt does. It moves the shirt so it's big enough to go around the outside so it's concealed. That would be really cool. Just kind of like thinking out loud. Yes, yeah. Like let's say you wanted to throw a jacket on top of this, like this army jacket from last week. That'll kind of keep it concealed like an FBI agent having his holster underneath his chest and stuff like that. So that could look really cool as well. There's the army jacket. It's going to take a second. I forgot this is a really high poly jacket. That's going to wrap it around everything, but it's going to tuck that scarf in. It's going to tuck those holsters in, and it's going to put the jacket on top of that. Now, this is one of those moments. If you wanted that scarf to sit on top of this jacket, you would have to bring it in as a separate piece, and then you're fighting against the burned-in texture. So these are all decisions you have to make as an artist and decide, is this something I want to do? Is this not something I want to do? So that's kind of where you're at. I probably should have picked a different jacket besides my super high poly jacket. Come on, get there. When I imported this the other day, I didn't think it was that high poly, but I have been proven wrong. It is too high poly. MetaTailor just makes everything look so good. All right. Am I lagging still? No, I'm not lagging. It doesn't look like it. So I'll let that run in the background. We'll see if it finishes after I finish my spiel. But that's pretty much it for tonight. That is our Importing Clothing 102, going over all of those imports and getting that in there. So Feel free to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you liked videos like this one. If you want to see next week's video, once again, we're importing avatars. So far we've looked at the basics. We've looked at importing clothing. Next week we look at importing avatars. Then we roll into our plugins. The first of those two plugins is going to be our Character Creator 4 plugin, and then our Unreal Engine plugin is what we're going to finish it off with, where we're going to take a metahuman from Unreal and import that seamlessly over to MetaTailor. So that's the next few streams planned. They're all happening Saturday night at 9 o'clock. They're all up on our YouTube channel, so you can set reminders for any of the ones you like. On top of that, we are dropping them all in the Discord. So make sure you follow our Discord, join our Discord to get any kind of support, see these streams, and sometimes see some amazing secret streams for our Discord users only, especially when new features come out. So that's what you can look forward to by joining our Discord. But like I said, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, catch all the content. If there's any questions that you have, feel free to reach out to me on Discord, anything like that. And that's pretty much it. Let's see, did it add that jacket yet? Oh, it's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. All right, well, I'll see if I can't get that on there and send you a picture on Discord. So keep an eye out on Discord. Join our Discord to see that jacket on this character. Otherwise, that's it for tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you in class next week. Go on, get out of here. Go get dressed. Bye, everybody.